He may be old, but he ain't dead yet, kids. I'm David Reddish, and this is Occupy Democrats. In this developing story, more than 100 members of Congress have issued a letter to Joe Biden. In it, they plead with the sitting president to make one sweeping final policy change before he leaves office next month. These congresspeople fear policy changes that the Trump administration could institute, policy changes Donald Trump has said he wants to make on the campaign trail. This is possibly the most pivotal moment of Joe Biden's entire political career, and he has the opportunity to make a sweeping change not seen in over 100 years of American policy. If he moves forward, it will likely be the biggest decision ever made by an outgoing president in American history. Outgoing presidents have a reputation as lame ducks. With a new incoming administration and a new incoming Congress, most presidents fall back on executive orders and pardons as a way to affirm their legacy and their place in the history books. Bill Clinton passed a $1.2 billion package for emergency school repairs to upgrade the nation's schools. He also issued a whopping 140 pardons on his last day in office, including pardons to Patty Hearst, Roger Clinton, and Susan McDougal. George W. Bush issued a $17.4 billion auto bailout to General Motors and Chrysler to keep the two American automotive giants from going bankrupt. Bush also commuted the sentences of two former Border Patrol agents who killed a man during a drug bust, and issued pardons to 19 others. Now, 120 congresspeople want Biden to do even more. The incoming Trump administration has already made many Americans nervous, and Donald Trump has signaled that he wants to take radical action on everything from immigration to LGBT rights. He's also said he wants to target political enemies, including Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, various members of Congress, journalists, and more with scurrilous legal investigations in hopes of landing them in prison, or at the very least, tarnishing their legacies. President Joe Biden continues to weigh his options as far as issuing preemptive blanket pardons to a number of political figures in the United States. Unfortunately, that hasn't done much to allay the fears of many Americans who felt targeted by Trump on the campaign trail, or who have their rights jeopardized in Project 2025. The first Donald Trump administration saw Trump stack the Supreme Court, and it eventually led to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Everybody's favorite Uncle Tom, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, has already publicly signaled that he wants the court to reconsider other landmark civil rights cases. In his opinion, in the Dobbs v. Jackson case, Thomas named 3 cases that he believed the court should also overturn: Griswold v. Connecticut, Lawrence v. Texas, and Obergefell v. Hodges. For anyone unfamiliar, Griswold determined the rights of Americans to legal contraception, Lawrence made gay sex legal, and Obergefell legalized same-sex marriage. Biden now has the opportunity to circumvent Trump and his agenda before he leaves office. These 120 members of Congress have urged Joe Biden to finally ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. To recap, the ERA, as it has become known, has toiled in Congress for more than 100 years. In the 1970s, with a renewed interest in women's rights, the ERA gained momentum. 38 states needed to ratify the amendment before it would become part of the Constitution. Congress set a deadline for the ratified amendment to pass by 1979, although constitutional scholars immediately disputed the deadline as illegal. 35 states managed to ratify the amendment prior to the deadline, with 3 more subsequently joining in as well. Virginia officially became the 38th state to pass the ERA in 2020. The new letter, issued by 120 members of Congress, urges Biden to ignore the disputed deadline passed by the Congress and have the Archivist of the United States certify the amendment as part of the Constitution. If Biden does so, it would, no doubt, be the biggest achievement of his presidency, granting equal protection, regardless of gender, to every American. We must continue our efforts to fully affirm and recognize the equality of rights for all people, regardless of sex, as part of our Constitution, a vital effort that has never been more urgent, the Congress members penned. This action is essential as we prepare to transition to an administration that has been openly hostile to reproductive freedom, access to health care, and to LGBTQIA rights. In this critical moment, when the progress we've made on gender equality, reproductive rights, and LGBTQ+ protections is under threat, your decisive action to finalize the ERA's certification would be a powerful statement to the nation and to the world that the United States is committed to ensuring equality for all, regardless of sex. Joe Biden has long signaled his support for the ERA, most recently reiterating his support for the amendment last year. He has yet to comment on this new letter from the people of Congress. But make no mistake, this could be the most critical moment of his presidency. Forget the Build Back Better Act. This is an opportunity for sweeping affirmation of equality in the United States in a way that we have not seen since Abraham Lincoln helped pass the 13th and 14th Amendments. In case you're unfamiliar, that's what the amendments that did away with slavery and established birthright citizenship. Yes, this would put Joe Biden in the same pantheon as Lincoln. It would make him one of the most important and consequential leaders in American history, and I cannot think of anything he could do to affirm his legacy in a better way. Joe, if you're watching this, we trust you to do the right thing. Pass this amendment now. Prevent the Trump agenda. Establish equality for all Americans. What an amazing way to celebrate the holidays, and what an amazing way to celebrate his outgoing presidency. For Occupy Democrats, I'm David Reddish.